Very good morning, everyone. We are fifth largest insurance market in the world by 2025, and we are all preparing ourselves. And from the ecosystem's perspective, if you see overall perspective, there are a lot of areas where the foundation has to be built at this moment. We still have to build that foundation for this mega growth. And what is that foundation going to be like? And how is the Insurtech sector going to power this? First, I would like to put this question across to John, who is from CarFox. John, as an Insurtech, how do you see this happening?
Yeah, first of all, thank you for having me on the panel. So this is a very interesting, I would say, subject or things which have been there from the time I started my insurance career. It's been 22 years now in the sector. And we talk about ecosystem all the time. But if you see in the last 22 years, what has happened in India is we have talked more about distribution. Even from the insurance side or the Insurtech per se, if you talk about, putting, because when we talk about Insurtech, we are talking about all the entire journey of a customer coming and buying a product. So it is one part of the entire ecosystem. So in the last, say, 10 years, 10 to 12 years, what we have seen, people like Policybazaar, people like CoverFox, and all the Insurtech company per se which had come, were focusing more on the distribution side, how to attract the customer digitally, how to ensure a sale is concluded. But when we talk about product, when we talk about the claim, the processes, this has not happened in that way as what we were able to achieve in the distribution side. There are a lot of intelligence in, technology which has come in, which the adaptation of those things have not placed yet. So what we are going to see, what we are focusing as a company, because we are one of the largest ecosystem player, like not only the distribution side, which we have already done a lot of work, now we are focusing more on the ensuring how we can reach to the underserved population, which is mostly neglected. In the last 22 years, we've seen that the penetration has been an issue. So we talk about penetration, India has been such a large economy, but we are not able to take the insurance product to the right percent. So how we are able to digitally reach to those people, how we can collaborate with people. In fact, it is not possible for our insurance company or an Insurtech to just reach to that last mile. So how we can collaborate with people digitally using the technology which we have developed and serve those customers.
Interesting. I request Purnima, from your side, how you have been looking as a insurance company.
Yeah, so it's interesting, how John brought out the fact that distribution is something that they have been looking at, but not the other, aspects of the process. In sharp contrast, I think within an insurance company, since you already have traditional distribution models, you have an agency, you have a direct marketing, etc., I think online sales still constitute a very small proportion of the total business. And while you make it easy and you try your best to make customer experience a great, make the experience very good for the customer, there is only so much uptake that has really happened. So a customer probably comes to your portal, does all the comparison with competition, etc., but doesn't necessarily conclude a sale with us, through digital means. So that's about what we've been able to achieve. I think from our perspective, it's exactly opposite. I think we should go all out there to figure out a new distribution model, so that you're able to use the Insurtech sort of infrastructure, platforms, etc., and be able to get more sales. Where I think we've made some significant inroads, at least within our company, has been on the claims analytics side. It's been in our post-issuance risk verification side. We've made tremendous progress.
Interesting. Rohan, you have been doing a lot of work in the Insurtech space. Especially. So how do you see the penetration of Insurtech in creating this stronger ecosystem there?
So look, I think what we've seen happen over the last 5 to 8 years with multiple insurtechs coming and solving for various parts of the value chain. Now, whether that is improving distribution, whether that's improving technology systems which allow for easier onboarding, easier claims management systems, easier assessment tools for claims, or easier sort of product building, risk modeling for better underwriting. Each one of these in the value chain will effectively create efficiency in products and distribution, in sort of the entire end-to-end enabling of the insurance transaction piece, which ultimately is effectively what's required to increase the penetration of insurance, right? So I think what we still feel that there is a large gap is that we just don't have enough manufacturing capacity in the country today from an insurance point of view. For the size of the country that we are, running on the back of 60 odd insurance companies is what probably one state in the US has compared to the entire country that we have. So I think manufacturing capacity has a large sort of deficit. Demand, because of COVID, at least in the health system, has grown tremendously over the last 2-3 years. So there is increased demand. Supply needs to sort of catch up. And we have insurtechs coming in and solving for the transaction between demand and supply. So I think to your question, more and more insurtechs are coming in, solving for various parts of the value chain. And in aggregation, these parts of the value chain will effectively create sort of an improvement in the overall penetration of insurance.
Excellent. So what is that wow moment you are looking into when it comes to the insurance sector, where you can look at how we can leapfrog this growth? Would you like to take this question?
Yeah. So we are looking at a few things here, right? One is that, can we assess the individual without the barriers that we have been putting as an insurance, industry? In terms of asking like 1 million documents after the individual, literally seeking blood out of the individual in order to issue a life insurance that we have been doing, right? Can we do away with these things and try to assess the person digitally, right? And can we carry along the reinsurer and the regulator while doing this, so that as an ecosystem we are ready for the next leap in terms of trusting the digital footprint of the person, given the jam trinity revolution that we have had so far, right? That is the first thing that we are looking at, right? And secondly, again, from a health perspective, we have been talking about the health ecosystem and making a repository of the health, just like account aggregator. Can we have a health aggregator, if you will, right? Now, this is a tricky issue because there is a lot of sensitivity and privacy of data involved. But if that can happen, and if we can get a critical volume of data on the health side, that will be very interesting and important for us. And last but not the least, we are talking about the ecosystem and so on and so forth. Can we have, from a product perspective also, can we talk about an ecosystem, right? Today what's happening is that we had to, the cost of acquisition of, of a customer, especially in life, is like so high that it's a major entry barrier, if you will, right? So if for example, insurers are also, allowed to sell something else and something else and something else that are related to insurance, so that we can create an ecosystem of products, right? So that the cost of acquisition of individual actually makes sense to spend that kind of money, right? That will make a big shift in terms of how many people we can reach out to and onboard in terms of marketing cost, right? So these three things would together make the biggest difference in terms of penetrating.
So Sunil, from the insurer's perspective, as an Insurtech, what do you see the role here? What is that wow moment you are looking out for?
I think for me, at least, the wow moment is the digital health stack that the government is promoting. I think the fact that we'll have millions of data points with respect to each and every healthcare will sort of trickle down with respect to reducing the cost of healthcare within the entire country. So the fact that, the government can take through data analytics, progressive healthcare programs, directed healthcare programs, which ultimately bring down the cost of hospitalizations and ultimately bring down the cost of health insurance. So that is a big thing that, can unlock in the next few years if it is implemented successfully, and as with the regulations as well. So I think that for me is going to change the paradigm of, the health industry in India, at least. And you'll see more investments coming in. You'll see more, players backing these kind of innovations, which will be, I think, India will be the pioneer.
Arindam, what is your take? You have been looking a lot from the health side.
No, I think the health stack, what Sanil was pointing out, or even the Jam Trinity, Srinidhi was pointing out, these are definitely a big moment, wow moment, UPI kind of a thing for insurance. I think apart from technology, there is also a big scope for product economics and distribution economics. And what do I mean by that? I think we are also waiting for a Zerodha moment for insurance. So there are three different leg or ecosystem, kind of a manufacturer, as John was pointing out, distributor, and at the end of the day, consumer. Somewhere down the line, we are trying kind of a risk, analytics, distribution is, customer is, but at the same time, it needs to be a very strong value proposition, and wherever we were lacking, regulator or government has shown us how to make that penetration puzzle to be kind of a solved, correct? I mean the PMJGBY, PMSBY, fantastic example. And I believe with the price change and everything, it is a very profitable proposition for the industry as well, correct? And there has to be something more to the end consumer if we need to reach out to a penetration level of 10 or 15%, which is quite prevalent in a developed economy.
Interesting. Behrouz, from your side, you have been working a lot into the space of doing research, engaging with the fintechs. What kind of new experiences are being built out now?
We've all heard about, most of us would be aware of the RBI Direct. And it's a platform where you can get government securities, and it's a lovely platform. So if you go on, it's very easy to get into it. So something like an RBI Direct for government securities, if insurance could look at something like that, Bima Sugam, which is coming in, but work on the Aadhaar part of it and then see how you can penetrate. Because the mortality penetration for India is extremely low. So if that is something which can be looked at, and then I think that could be the wow moment for the insurance companies. Now coming to the AI, what we've seen is that we've actually seen companies look at various sort of processes to say where you can really work on it, where the AI model works, where the blockchain. Now we've seen a lot of blockchain models also working within companies, and some of the use cases that we've seen has been in reinsurance contracts or smart contracts which are there with customers. And health insurance smart contracts have been much more easier done than the others. So maybe that could be the reason, because of the health stack being there overseas. But that could be something which you can look at. Also, what we've seen personalization is you have core insurance products. Then you have this embedded or value products to that insurance which is there. And then the third part is the exponential. So what we've seen globally is that an insurance company, and he did mention about it, works along with other companies. So if I'm doing a house insurance, I'm also providing some additional benefits to that individual. It's nothing to do with just the house insurance which is there, but if there are elders in it, do they have certain facilities which can be given to the elders? Or if there are certain, like all of us, we need servants and plumbers and all of that, can that facility also be given by the insurance company? So they are looking at an ecosystem which is much more personalized, going along with insurance. So it's just not the insurance product or the value addition to the insurance product, but look at other facilities around that insurance to be done. Whether it's car, where you can go by mobility. So there are overseas we've seen where car insurance goes along with certain mobility or logistics work that is required with it. Pension policies we've seen, they actually have where you can actually go and look at your robo-advisors on how you should be making investments in those policies. So there are a lot of other things which can go along with insurance.
Interesting. Rohan, how do you see the experience roadmap here? What kind of changes do you see in experience with all these AI, ML and technologies coming in? Where are all these major action areas?
What we are seeing is a large amount of personalization and contextualization. I think if you can start to contextualize insurance products along with the primary asset or the primary use case, then the adoption and the attachment of that product becomes very easy. I mean, there's some great examples in terms of how you've seen security cameras being sold with theft insurance. We've seen, obviously house insurance coming with, fire theft, et cetera. So I think if you're able to understand consumer data, and this comes back to the unified stack, the more and more data is available across the user journeys, across the user requirements, the better product building and product packaging can be done, whether it is with the core primary product along with the affinity products with it. And I think that's the only way to get seamless sort of attachment for the end customer. Fundamentally, I still think there is a large gap. I think we're still trying to solve for the primary health, life, and general insurance products. So for us, I think specifically for India, I think the niche categories of personalization will take a lot more time. And I think they may be restricted to probably metros and urban areas with a very small scalable sort of opportunity available. I think the large opportunities are how can you personalize health products to tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 sort of consumers where access and affordability continue to be a large issue.
Now, Srinidhi, from the strategy perspective, this weak area of channels, okay, working with all this AI, ML, and what new innovations are possible in that sector?
So, and what we saw is that the paradigms of underwriting and distribution, right, completely change if you go from the metros in the tier 1, deeper into the Bharat, if you will. Right? So, what happens in a typical insurance world, right? So somebody fills up the form, it could be online, offline, whatever, somebody fills up a form, and then an underwriter goes through the form and all the documents associated with it, and then decides whether to, issue the policy, not issue the policy, or do a counter offer or whatever, right? It's a typical insurance world. Right? But the moment you go into tier 2, tier 3, what we have seen is that on the one side, it's into a more of a high volume, low value, low ticket size kind of a paradigm. That's one. And secondly, these people won't have the typical, like your Form 16 and your salary slip and ITR and whatnot, right? Those things are not available, right? So the entire, and also people are a lot more likely to think, 100 times before they spend even 1 rupee, right? So the affordability and other related things that Rohan was talking about, right? So combination of these things, what happens is the distribution economics from a traditional perspective become completely unmanageable, right? And that's where, we are talking about AI and ML taking the role of, taking over this aspect, right? So, can an underwriter be looked at not as a person, but as an algorithm, right? Can an algorithm be the underwriter so that when you are talking about a high volume, low ticket size kind of a paradigm, insuring thousands and thousands, millions and millions of people, right? It can still be managed economically and make it affordable for the guy who is trying to, make sense of it, right? That's one. And secondly, from a personalization perspective, right? So one is personalizing price and other things where we are a regulated industry, it's very hard, right? Can we personalize the experience? So that's where AI and ML is making a big penetration in terms of underwriting and the experience.
So, John, any thoughts from your side on how the micro insurance is penetrating?
See, we are talking about insurance, Insurtech, but we have, put a segment which categorize under microinsurance. If you see the Indian population spread, majority of those population are under microinsurance clientele, right? But the way the things have evolved, we have always, focused on that layer of, customer who has a car, who has a, can pay a higher insurance premium. But these people, that's why the microinsurance category was created. So that's a low ticket size. Now, the discussion which we are having, even Rohan, everyone is pointing out, insurance is a need-based sale, right? Like a doctor, the doctor has a different need. The journeys has to be created in that context. I'll give an example. Like, I'm coming back to the first question which you raised, like the ecosystem. Insurance industry is not only the ecosystem belonging to them, but they are also dependent on third parties. Say, for example, for health claim, there are hospitals, there are TPAs. TPA is part like hospital networks, which has to be there to service those kind of customers. So, I'll give an example for micro-insurance product. In a particular village in, say, Bihar, for that individual, that clinic which has 5 beds is a hospital. But for an insurance company, it is not a hospital. So for him, if he's falling sick, he will go to the hospital. He give you a discharge certificate. It is certified by the doctor. We say, sir, मैं तो गया था. आप claim दीजिए. Insurance company will say, no, I'll not give you the claim because it is not an accredited hospitalization. So the ecosystem has to, they have to understand that this, if you are serving that customer, because for him the experience is important, how his claim is paid. For when we talk about the penetration of insurance on women, okay? So we developed a product. We went to the insurance company. We said we are serving this particular through a microfinance institutions who are only serving women borrowers. So when we went there, we said we want a health product which should cover maternity. He said, no, maternity has a 9th month waiting. all the health insurance have a 9-month waiting period. I said that, but these customers will not wait because anyone who is going to the hospital, if I cannot go and say, no, you wait for 9 months and I'll give you a product. That doesn't happen. So these things, when we are going, and so customization, personalization, based on the customer need has to be there. So microinsurance success rate will depend upon how we are able to customize those things as per the need of the customer.
Interesting. From an fintech perspective, especially when we talk from Sanil's side, you have been working from the health side. How are you seeing micro health insurance penetrate?
I think what Insurtechs need to focus on in the next few years is basically how do we embed these kind of insurance which the manufacturers create and distribute it among the population. And for that, we don't even have to do anything. We just need to partner with the relevant players within the ecosystem, be it fintech players who might have a mass sort of customer base, be it NBFCs, be it cooperative banks. It's just about creating that technology stack for them to ensure that they are able to sell insurance and create that infrastructure for them that they are able to sell insurance, be it health, be it life, be it motor or accident. And once that is created, I think penetration will just hit the roof. So I think at least from my perspective and what Healthy Shore does, we are trying to focus on that. We are trying to create an infrastructure for the mass scale so that health insurance is propagated throughout the country, and hopefully we are able to achieve that.
Wonderful. Behrouz, is we have been seeing a lot of penetration or a lot of talk of foreign FDI investments into the insurance sector, and especially with the regulations getting a lot more streamlined or a lot more lenient. How is the investment scenario looking like, and how are insurers looking at and the insurance tech sector looking like?
Thanks, Babu. So basically what we've been observing is that over the years, earlier the investors into insurance companies used to be insurance companies itself. So the joint venture partners used to be insurance. But over the years what we've seen is private equity players are becoming investors in insurance companies. And there are a lot of listings also happening. So public also is becoming shareholders to insurance. What we see globally, and most of this Insurtech in India, what we have observed is that they are getting funding or their equity capital from private equity players or venture capital players. But globally, when we look at it, we have seen that you have insurance companies which have their own venture capital arms or their investment companies which are there. And insurance companies also do put in money into Insurtech. So that is something which we need to see in India also more, where Indian insurance companies could have their own venture capital arms or could have investments being done, not internally in automations the way Purnima mentioned, but having an investment done in Insurtech. And that's something which we look to come into India slowly.
And Srinidhi, from your side, since you have been working a lot into this side, what is your insight to be shared from an insurer's perspective?
Yeah, absolutely. One is the regulatory angle itself, right? So what are the insurance companies allowed to do? But secondly, and more importantly, as an ecosystem, are we ready for that? In the sense that, right? The moment, as an insurer, I have a stake in a particular distributor, for example, right? Now, will that independence of that distributor in terms of being fair to all my peers, right? Will that go away, right? So these are the things that we need to think about, right? And secondly, I'm looking at, okay, can the distributor whom I'm investing into, can that person be more than just a distributor? What value-added services can they provide in terms of giving more insight about the end customer to me, while just while transferring my policy to him and giving his or their data to me, right? So these are all the various aspects that I would look at while while trying to expand my wings in terms of an investor.
Excellent. So Purnima, coming to that question which we are speaking about, the inclusion of insurance and the penetration of that, considering the fact that women are slowly getting more and more playing a bigger role into the financial decision making, how do you see the penetration and inclusion getting into the sector, and what new changes are observed here?
If you see from a number of policies perspective, we have about 30% policies that are written where women are the policy holder. But in terms of value, it's only 10%, which
Correct.
means that it is not taken off with the women. So the products have to be, catering to that. How do you ensure that the risk of the saving risk to the saving is basically protected. That is one of the key things that is important to her. Similarly, what I've been reading, recently is her health, her health of the people in her house is something that's a priority. So maybe you should bring out products which are, say something like a cancer, so breast cancer for women. Now, this is something that's prevalent, something that most women are interested and focused on. If there's a product that is catering to it, then, it is something that will sort of work.
Arindam, you have been a marketeer. I wanted to take your perspective.
One quick point. I don't think it is an intention. It's more of an income substitution as a life insurance, correct? So as more and more women are getting into workforce, automatically it will increase. But there is some special intervention needed. We can see that happening in the Jan Dhan account or the PMJJBY subscription. The women life in tier 2, tier 3 and rural India, it's substantially growing up. We are also experiencing that. Good for us. From the marketing and positioning perspective, I think as a risk assessment or when you underwrite a woman life, it's a far better life for multiple reasons, correct? So do we really position it from the insurance company perspective? May not be the case, correct? We may want to highlight it, and as Purnima has correctly pointed out, maybe we need to kind of a tailor-made something to highlight that. Last but not the least, from the life insurance perspective, women by kind of an nature, virtue or whatever, they are best savers, at least in the Indian context. Life insurance, interestingly, I don't want to make it a kind of a pitch for everyone, but it is a very interesting, apart from the risk kind of an product, a very strong savings vehicle. Because of its inherent tax advantage and multiple other kind of guarantee protection for a very long period of time and stuff like that. Are we positioning to the largest kind of a population of as the biggest saver of the country in that way, that this is an interesting vehicle apart from risk management, savings product which is catering to their specific need? I think that area
Excellent.
we need to focus on.
Great.
And all the best. to all
Thanks,
of us.
thanks. I want to talk to one Insurtech also for there. Rohan, any quick view on any specialized women-centric kind of products that are coming, or probably for that matter, inclusion-centric product, not just women, but even the lower realms of the society?
Yeah, no, I think what we've seen so far is just the tip of the iceberg in terms of product innovation. I think just to wrap everything up, you will see a lot more investments coming into the space. We're one of the largest economies, low sort of penetration rates. So I think the opportunity to push the limits in terms of product thinking is very, very vast and very wide. Specifically from a diversity and inclusion perspective, I think there is a lot of work which is done on women-centric products. We did do products which were around breast cancer and sort of other specific products, but we're also seeing products which are being built around high use case sort of diseases like HIV, which have not which have typically been stayed away from in terms of a typical health insurance products. These are large segment markets, and I think the only difference here is the underwriting models need to change for these products. I think there is enough data, like the previous speaker said, there is data available across sort of these segments. All we need to do is figure out the right sort of product packaging and the right way to position these products to that customer base. So you will see diversity both from a women-centric products and also sort of certain, I would say, people with special needs, which will start to get a lot more attention in terms of the product building process.
Thanks a lot, Rohan. Speakers, thank you very much everyone for this wonderful conversation.